All right, let's take a simple phrase. One you've heard a million times, I'm sure. But we're going to peel back the layers and see just how complex and honestly, how deeply unsettling it can be.
So let's just jump right in. If I say the words blue eyes, what's the very first thing that comes to mind? Seriously, what's your immediate reaction? Is it, I don't know, a specific look, a line from a song, maybe some fun fact about genetics? Whatever it is, just hang on to that thought for a second.
You know, when you actually look at what people are saying online, a few big ideas keep popping up. The number one thing, by a long shot, almost half, is just aesthetics. You know, beauty. Then you've got a pretty big chunk for science and genetics. After that, there's this really interesting slice for superstition and culture. And finally, a smaller piece, but still important, is just plain old personal desire. People wanting them.
And that cultural part, it's wild because the beliefs are all over the place. I mean, they're completely contradictory. In some places, having blue eyes is the ultimate sign of beauty. But in others, it's actually considered unlucky or even tied to the evil eye, you know, that curse from a nasty glare that people try to protect themselves from. So on one hand, it's this poetic symbol, but on the other, it's just a genetic quirk from one single ancestor way, way back.
And that romantic side is, well, it's pretty powerful. Someone online put it so beautifully. They said it's the eye that makes you feel the sea, the depth, a willing disappearance. Wow. I mean, that just perfectly nails that feeling of getting lost in someone's eyes, right? That hypnotic thing people talk about.
Okay, but we have to take a sharp turn here. Because for millions and millions of people, the phrase blue eyes isn't romantic at all. It's not about beauty or the sea. It stands for something much, much darker. Something truly tragic and painful.
In fact, to give you an idea of where we're headed, one reader said this about the work we're about to get into. They said it's a book that can contaminate even your purest and cleanest thoughts. Think about that for a second. That's the kind of power we're talking about here. So let's explore that more profound meaning. We are, of course, talking about The Bluest Eye, the incredible novel by the Nobel laureate Toni Morrison. This was Morrison's debut novel, back in 1970. The story takes us to 1940s Ohio, and it's all about a young black girl named Pecola Breedlove. Her entire world, her entire story hinges on this one single desperate wish. More than anything else, she prays for blue eyes.
All right, the story of Pecola, a desire born from despair.
So let's walk through Pecola's story, because it is just heartbreaking. First, from the time she's tiny, she's told she's ugly. And this isn't just coming from the outside world, from white society. It's coming from her own community, even her own family. And she takes all of that in, she internalizes it, until it turns into this deep, devastating self-loathing. On top of all that, she's suffering just horrific abuse at home. So you see, her prayer for blue eyes, it becomes everything. It's her only way out, the one thing she believes will make her beautiful. And if she's beautiful, then maybe, just maybe, she'll finally be loved and kept safe. And this is so important to understand. Her wish for blue eyes has nothing to do with vanity, not at all. It's a desperate cry to be seen, to have worth. It's a prayer for acceptance in a world that is just brutally, constantly telling her she doesn't matter.
Okay, moving to a reflection of society, because this is about more than just one person's tragedy. And this is where the book gets really challenging. A reader pointed out this difficult truth from the novel, saying, the enemy is not only the whites, the real evil is closest to us. That's a powerful idea. The book is just masterful in showing how these toxic beauty standards get absorbed by a community and then turned inward, used as weapons against their own. Yeah, the novel's honesty is it's unflinching. On one hand, Morrison looks at love not as some fairy tale fix, but as something messy. She writes, love is never any better than the lover. Basically, broken people love in a broken way. And then, on the other hand, she stares right into the face of unimaginable suffering, with a character basically screaming at the heavens, you forgot the children, God. It's so raw, it's meant to be unsettling.
But maybe the most damning part of the whole book is how it calls out the entire community. This quote just lays it all bare. We all felt so virtuous after wiping our filth on her. It explains how everyone, literally everyone, used Pecola as their scapegoat. They took all their own ugliness, their own insecurities, and just dumped it all on her. And by making her ugly, they got to feel beautiful. They literally built themselves up by tearing her down.
So when you put it all together, Piccola's story is this devastating mix of these huge themes, right? You've got internalized racism, this idea of beauty being completely made up by society, the unbelievable trauma of child abuse, and the really chilling way a community can turn on one of its own.
Which brings us to our final thought, what we're taught to desire. Because in the end, Piccola's story isn't just a story, it's a challenge. It challenges us to look beyond something as simple as eye color, or a song, or a picture. It forces us to ask some really tough questions about the standards of beauty and worth that our society builds and that we all help hold up.
And so, that leaves us with this final question to chew on. For Piccola, the bluest eye was the key to everything: acceptance, beauty, love. So what are the blue eyes of today? What are those things our world teaches us we have to have or be to finally be considered worthy? It's a heavy question, but one worth thinking about. Thanks for tuning in.